associations. And so these Pavlovian conditioning is very applicable here. So if these if these processes seem difficult to understand now, don't be worried, because we will talk about them later. But these would be the opposite of, for example, smokers oftentimes report about things that trigger their smoking behaviors. So let me give you a couple of examples of things that would trigger smoking behavior. The scratching of utensils on a dinner plate, because after dinner you smoke. An alarm clock, because when your alarm clock goes off in the morning, one of the first things you want to do is smoke. Those are just a couple of examples of things that might trigger smoking-related behaviors, or certain types of friends, or music, or things like that. Because smoking has been done so many times, I mean, you think about how many times someone's alarm clock has gone off and they've smoked. Let's say it's someone who's smoked for 30 years, and that's happened every single day. And so that is, that's 10,950 times that those things have been paired. And so that becomes a very, very, very powerful stimulus to elicit or to trigger smoking behaviors. And so, think about in your own lives. There might be songs or certain places that cause a flood of emotions after just one or two pairings. Think about nearly 11,000 pairings and how strong that would be. And so counter conditioning would be a strategy or a process where we would help people be able to come to grips with and break those associations. So we might put them in settings where the alarm clock goes off, but they don't smoke. And so, we're going to have to try and pair or break the pairing that's happened between the alarm clock and smoking, and do that over and over and over and over in environments that are comfortable for them, where they can engage in other behaviors so that they're dealing with their emotions and the urges and the withdrawal symptoms when that alarm clock goes off, for example. And again, not just the alarm clock, there might be hundreds of other triggers. Contingency management. Now, contingency management is this idea that there's a consequence for our behaviors, and that good consequences are only administered when good behaviors happen, or good consequences are withheld if the bad behavior happens. So, for example, you don't get a reduction on your insurance premium if you smoke, or you do get a reduction on your insurance premium if you quit smoking. And we can test whether or not you smoke by looking for metabolites of nicotine in your urine, for example, or in your hair. We could do that, so we can see whether or not you smoke, and we would award you a consequence based on that, or contingent upon that. Stimulus control is the idea that there is a stimulus that targets or kind of causes the behavior to happen. So your friends, for example, invite you to drink alcohol, or offer you drugs, or when you're with them, you have this desire to smoke. And so, counter conditioning would deal with the stimulus directly. Stimulus control is more preemptive, meaning that, we're going to go in front of the stimulus and we're going to alter it or remove it, avoid it. Environmental reengineering, sometimes we refer to it as, meaning that if your friends are a stimulus for smoking, then we're just going to eliminate your friends, meaning that you don't spend time with them, or at least not in settings where you're going to smoke. And this is very common for drug users, they're very, very used to taking drugs in certain environments, and so when they get home, if they're used to taking drugs by themselves when they get home at night, we would want to alter that stimulus, and we'd want to have someone there with them, or want them to not go home, or at least to that place, or maybe have them move to a new apartment and start over. Whatever. And you can think about in your own lives and relate to this. Certainly there are behaviors that, maybe it's diet-related behaviors or physical activity or other things where you know that you are weak when those things happen. And so stimulus control processes would target those stimuli, try and eliminate them, or help you avoid them, or just alter them altogether. So you can think of these processes in terms of their effectiveness at these different stages. So you'll notice, again, processes such as consciousness raising, dramatic relief, those things being effective in the early stages, whereas counter conditioning, stimulus control, and reinforcement management, which would be contingency management, those being effective at the latter stages.